In today's episode, part 2 of the interview with Vidal Cisneros Jr., he identifies the one thing that you can do to stop repeating the same mistakes over and over again.
Welcome to this edition of Peak Performance Podcast with your host, Thor Conklin. Thor will be sharing the necessary tools, strategies, and psychology you'll need to become a peak performer in any area of your life or business.
Thor Conklin here. We give you the tricks, the tips, the tools, the strategies, the technology, and the psychology peak performers use in order to get more done and execute better than 99.99% of the population. If you know what to do but struggle with getting it done, or you simply want to raise your game and start getting more done, this podcast is for you. Sit back and enjoy. We resume with part 2 of the interview. If you haven't already listened to part 1, please start there. Give us some of your core beliefs.
A strong core belief for myself is that no matter what I'm going through, I'm going to keep going. So if I'm up against a tough day, a tough moment, I look in the mirror and I keep it simple and I do this self-talk and say, keep going. There might be some tears flowing. There might be some painful stuff. Somebody might have disappointed me. I just look in the mirror and I say, keep going. Let's see what this is going to teach us, because life is the greatest teacher, and we have to stand up and be the student of lives and stop thinking that life is going to be this perfect just plan that we've carved out. No plan is going to go as follows. I'm sorry. It's going to keep evolving, and we're going to have to pivot, and that's the beauty of life.
You know, I love that saying, if you want to make God laugh, just tell her your plans.
So true. Yes.
Tell us 5 things that you need to get done.
5 things? Let's see. First off, this week I have to pick the Kickstarter perks for my Thriving Beyond book Kickstarter campaign. So I'm going to pull some of my email list for that. Next, I need to follow up and get back to a lot of the people that are in my pipeline, a lot of friends, and how I can serve them. And I also need to get back to writing for large publications. So that's another large goal of mine. Next thing, I need to get back into running more in the morning. That's something that I've been shying away from, and it's kind of showing up when I look down, and I can't see my feet sometimes. And then the last thing is I got to get back to saying I love you unexpectedly. And for the most part, I'm like that. That's who I am. And getting back to who I am, really, that's what it comes down to. The more authentic I am, the more myself I am without thinking it. I know that I'm living a truer, realer, more alive life.
Wow. You have so many demands put on you. You podcast, you're an author, you're coaching. How do you determine what to say yes to?
That is such a great question. Holy cow. For any entrepreneur, for anybody with huge goals, your time is the most valuable thing. But there is this myth going on out there. Sometimes it's in the personal development space, and it is that there's balance. That is a bunch of nonsense, and it's BS, just to be honest. I don't know if I can cuss, but it's okay. I'll keep it family.
You can. You'll just get an E rating.
Right. No, but honestly, it's a bunch of BS. There's going to be moments in your life where it's going to be way off, but it's trying to keep it in that sweet spot. You don't want to keep it, like we said, nothing is perfect, so don't think it's got to be 50-50, like that picture of a bunch of stones standing straight up and like in a pyramid, that picture that we see with, keep the balance kind of thing. Yes, we got to go back to finding our center, but keep it in that sweet spot of 60-40, right? Maybe your workload right now is 60% taking up a lot of your life and 40%, your family time and all this other stuff that you really need to focus on to keep the people that you love happy. It's going to go back and forth, right? But keeping it 60-40, I would say, is healthy. Anything outside of 60-40, you're asking for trouble. If it's 90% workload or 90% just everything else and non-work, you're asking for a lot of trouble. And that's where I learned years ago as a workaholic that that's not the way to live. Sometimes you have to reward yourself with the time to yourself, the time to figure out, what is it that I have to say no to? Is this going to really serve me, or am I really just doing a pro bono thing? You have to delegate some of the things that you don't want to do to others. And when you put it out in the universe and you say, okay, this is what I'm focused on, delegating some of the tasks that I don't like to do, like the editing the podcast, like creating some of the cover art images, so on and so forth. Put it out there, leave a space for that. And like the vacuum law, see if something just takes up that space. And you would be surprised what happens, even if you have a low budget or zero budget. Trust me.
Great advice.
Thank you.
Peak performers and those that get things done have certain tricks, tools, psychology, strategies that they use. With you having so much to get done, what are some of your tricks, tools, strategies, techniques?
I keep it very simple. So whatever I've learned, I write it down. And if I don't write it down, I'm going to have to go through that same problem in order to finally write it down. If you don't write it down, you don't journal, you're going to forget. If you come up against that, if you butt up against that obstacle again, you're going to say, this looks familiar. What did I do last time? Your muscle memory will have you doing the same mistake that you did before until you write it down and pull back and do some awareness on why is it that you keep doing the wrong thing and you're not feeling good about your outcome. It's all about the outcomes, right, Thor? So once we focus on the outcome that we want, write it down, learn the lesson from prior mistakes, and keep it simple. We don't have to complicate it. The mind does enough of that complicated work for us. Get outside of your mind, meditate, clear it, focus on what matters the most, and keep things simple. A lot of the coaching clients that I consult with, it's the same thing. There's so much just overwhelming pile of unmade decisions, and you just got to delete that pile and start over and say, okay, let's just get rid of it, annihilate it, start over from scratch. That's where all of the light bulb moments happen in my life, when I just walked away and gave up everything. When you go through divorce, sometimes the best thing is not to fight over everything. Just give it away. I was like, okay, who wants to come get this? There you go. You guys want it? Cool. I want a simplified life. I don't want more stuff. I want less stuff.
The part about the simplicity, so important. Writing stuff down. You've got to get that stuff out of your mind. Get it down on paper. I put mine into Evernote or Dropbox, and then I've got it on all my devices. If I need to refer back to it, I refer back to it. It drives some people crazy because they're like, what's going on with X, Y, and Z? I don't know. Let me check my system. They're like, well, don't you remember that? I said, why would I want to store that in my brain? I want to leave my brain open for being present, working on new things, and being here with you. I don't want to clog it up with a bunch of information. That's what a computer's for.
And this concept is called just-in-time learning. There's enough Google analytics and data out there that you can get anything you want at any time as far as information goes. So wait until you absolutely need it. If you want to write a book, okay, don't think about it until you're ready. And then when you're ready, then you start diving into it. And it evolves. It's an evolution. It's super hard writing a book. I'm not going to lie. There's times where I just want to get into flow and I have to get 10,000 words down and I can't step in there. So then this is what I do. Instead of going back to what I've read, I just say, all right, let me Google this, let me Google that and see what works. Okay, this is what's working right now. Okay, cool. I'll try this new technique. That's the beauty of technology, is that it's always refreshing itself with newer and greater things that you don't have to hang on to and try to remember for the rest of your life. There's no point. It's just mundane, right?
Yeah, absolutely. One of the best business executives, entrepreneurs, Henry Ford. He was quoted in, I'm going to get the paper wrong, the Chicago Tribune or something. And it said that he was an idiot. And he sued the paper and said, no, I'm not an idiot. And it went to trial. And the attorneys for the paper had him on the stand and started asking him a bunch of questions. Who was the first president? I'm sure he knew that one, but just all these historical facts. And he said, "I'm sorry, sir, I do not know." And every single question they asked, he said, "I do not know." And then the attorney turns around and goes, "Well, obviously you're an idiot because you don't know this information." And on cross-examination, his attorney asked him about that. He said, "Well, let me ask you a question. In my office, I have this board, and it has 8 electrical buttons on it. And if I want to know any of those questions that the attorney just asked, I simply push a button. And in 3.5 seconds, someone appears at my door with the answer to any question that you want. So, sir, I ask you, who's the idiot? You trying to remember it all, or me simply having people at my disposal?"
I remember that story. I read that. Awesome story.
Love that. So, Vidal, share with the listeners how they can get a hold of you and some of the projects that you're currently working on and what value you can have to Peak Performance Nation.
Thank you so much for the opportunity, Thor, to share some gifts to your listeners. I'm all about paying it forward and being grateful for everything that has happened in my life. And you can get your gifts at yourfreegift.us. So you will receive a downloadable version of my story, How Gratitude Got Me Through, that was featured in Chicken Soup for the Soul Think Possible. So I don't want anybody out there that needs some inspiration to have to go to Barnes & Noble and pick up the actual hard copy for $15. They can actually have my story for free. And also with that, I also want to gift them some other ebooks that hopefully they'll find valuable, whether they're going through devastation or possibly if they want to leverage their mess and make it a powerful message that they would love to share on stage at some point. So that's where you can find those gifts at yourfreegift.us, or you can go to thrivingbeyondbook.com. And that's also a book that I'm launching as of this summer, thrivingbeyondbook.com. And that book will also entail my full story in detail and have also the 7 steps to thrive beyond devastation, divorce, addiction, adversity, incarceration, career shift. I ended up working for 2 Fortune 500 companies after I was incarcerated with a record, with no higher education, with no experience in the industry. I ended up working for Wells Fargo and GE Healthcare. So the success principles that I share in this book, they can help others, not based on theory, but because I've done the work for you. So if you're going through a hard divorce, a devastating divorce, you can find some useful strategies in there. If you're looking to get your life back on track after a career shift because of a bad record, because of incarceration, or maybe you're going through a hard depression, you've been betrayed in your marriage and you don't know how to find that person that you're meant to be with. I'm going to have a lot of strategies along with my own experiences and my own stories of how you can propel yourself forward and evolve and not just survive, but thrive. And then if you want to get on a stage and share your mess with a powerful, messageful way, I'm going to give you also those tools and resources so you don't have to keep Googling your brains out to try to figure it all out. It's going to all be in one book.
Yeah, I love that phrase, your mess is your message. We are at the part in the show that is known as the rapid fire execution round. In 1873, cattlemen designed a .22 revolver that had 12 shots. You're going to have 12 questions to answer in 2 minutes.
I am excited. I love this.
Awesome. And the reason it's 2 minutes is that peak performers, if there's something to be done and it takes less than 2 minutes, they just knock it out as opposed to adding it onto their to-do list, just cluttering up their things to do. We try to keep that list as short as possible. Okay. One thing you must do every single day.
Pray.
The favorite thing you do when you're not working.
Spending quality time.
Name a profession you'd like to attempt other than your own.
Public relations.
One thing that you were told that turned out to be the most true.
It is possible. Hard questions sometimes.
Number one thing you'd like to learn in the next 6 months.
Skydive.
And swimming.
Yes, swimming and skydiving.
Swimming. Do some swimming. If you hear this little voice in the back of your head, learn to swim.
Keep swimming.
That's right. Oh, you can maybe do a dual, swimming and skydiving. Is there much to learn to skydive? All you got to do is just kind of let it happen, right?
Yeah, there's hours you got to put in, right?
Okay. Yes. I guess if you want to, do it on your own. Name the skill you have you are most proud of.
Overcoming adversity.
I would agree based on your story. Most useful app you're currently using.
Evernote.
Your top priority in life.
Keep learning.
What time do you start your day?
Not early enough.
Most impactful speaker you've ever heard. What did he or she say?
Anthony Robbins. There's only 3 millimeters to shift in your life if you pay close attention to it.
Name one decision in business you wish you had never made.
Not starting sooner.
And I can't end on that question, so I got one more for you. Most meaningful book you've ever read.
The Shack.
Awesome. You survived the execution round. Well done.
Thank you.
Do you have any parting advice for our listeners?
Yes. I recently watched a movie, Finding Dory, and you might not think that you can get some great advice from Dory, but it's simple, and it's something that I have to learn. Keep swimming.
Nice. I like that. I'm starting to sense a theme here around swimming.
Yes, I'm going to have to send you pictures, and I'm already cringing, but I love it. I love stepping outside of my shell.
That's the only way we grow. Absolutely. I usually end with a question of the day, but I'd like you to ask the question of the day. Ask the listeners a question that they can contemplate, and then a call to action for them.
Okay, great. I love this part.
So, the question of the day, take it away.
100 years from today, what is the one thing that you would like your legacy to stand for? The one thing that you would want to be remembered for. You can email me at info@vidalcisnerosjr.com with your answer. I would love to just read all these wonderful answers. And this is a question that I ask a lot of guests that come on my podcast as well.
And their call to action today. What action do they need to take?
Email me with your answer at info@vidalcisnerosjr.com.
Awesome. I love it. And the question of the audience for you is, when would now be a good time to book some swim lessons?
Oh, man, I appreciate you. I love you, brother.
Well, you need to expect to get away without any accountability.
Exactly. I love this.
Well, terrific. Thank you for being on. Your story is amazing. I love the work that you're doing. And I know our listeners are going to absolutely love this. And I look forward to having you on again.
Thank you so much for the opportunity, Thor. It's been a blast and an honor.
If you've not already done so, please head to iTunes, subscribe to the show, leave us a 5-star rating and review. Also, please pass along these episodes to family, friends, coworkers, or anyone that could benefit from this information. You can find us on Facebook or Twitter at Thor Conklin. The website is thorconklin.com. While at the website, please sign up for our newsletter for additional tricks, tips, tools, and strategies for becoming a peak performer. If you have any questions, please send them to info@thorconklin.com. Decide to be a peak performer in all that you do. And until tomorrow, have an absolutely amazing day.